Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting edition of Boyographic, the show in which I, Matt the Gameboy, take you through the highs and lows of the Game Boy library one cart at a time. This week we're going to be looking at a puzzle game that's often ignored on this system, and quite unfairly in my opinion. It's Megalit. Megalit is a little bit of an odd game. For starters, it's developed by Asmik, creators of Cat Trap and Mysterium, two games that Megalit at least falls in the middle of with its gameplay and setting. But on top of that, the game is actually published by Takara, the makers of Transformers, who back in the 80s and early 90s, when video game market was considered to be a straight up toy,
this is as big or bigger than anything the toy industry has ever seen,
got in on the publishing business in the same way that Matchbox and Milton Bradley tried to. So, as you might have guessed from the game's box art, Megalit has a fantasy setting similar to Mysterium. However, this is by no means an RPG, but a block-pushing puzzle game. Weird, I know, but it's actually pretty fun. So, why the fantasy setting, you might ask? Well, if the back of the box is to be believed, a witch has cast a Megalit spell using all of the power gems from various princesses, and when your nameless protagonist intervened, he was turned into a stone, hence why you play as what looks like Kirby's flatter cousin. So, naturally, to break said curse and beat the witch, you must solve all of her fiendish block puzzles. However, it's probably not advised to do this straight away, as right off the bat after turning the game on, it gives you the option of easy and quest modes, which, at least with the former, is misleading for a number of reasons. As while easy mode might be a walk in the park compared to quest mode, as it gives you unlimited continues and time, not to mention the puzzles are a pretty laughable difficulty level initially. My main gripe with calling this easy mode is because it's essentially the game's tutorial, and the player needs to experience it to learn the ropes before they have any hopes of beating quest mode. Interjected between each stage and easy mode are helpful instructions that will give the player vital information like blocks break from above 2 blocks, meaning you can't drop a block unless there's another block 1 level below it, or informing the player of multiple solutions to each stage by saying there's more than one way to move blocks. As there are 30 levels in both easy and quest mode, there is only so much tutorial the player can take, so the latter levels have some serious you are holding clock moments, such as give yourself a 3-minute break, Enlightened, that had me giggling while playing. Of course, these differ in quest mode, where instead you are told the game's story one line at a time. To be honest, this is a little tedious, as the back of the box does it better and in less time. Also, for some reason the witch's name is apparently Dark, you know, dark, but with a H instead of an R. But I'm not going to critique a puzzle game over its story. What's really important here is the gameplay. Megalit controls simple enough. You hit A to jump and B to grab onto blocks, which you can push or pull to the left and right. However, you can only grab a block if you're standing next to it, and as previously mentioned, you can only let a block fall down 1 layer. Your jump is also limited to 3 blocks high, meaning you're going to have to build a lot of temporary staircases in Megalit. The end goal of each stage is to make sure every block is at ground level. That's not to say they need to be laid flat, so it doesn't affect the vertical blocks, as, well, you can't turn them. The game's learning curve is pretty friendly if you're playing through the easy mode first, as the game does a lot of hand-holding in the instruction sequences between levels, but as this is all to set you up for the challenge or quest mode, it can be easily forgiven. Honestly, I'm not the most puzzle-savvy of gamers, but I really found that the game took a huge difficulty spike between the last 10 and 15 levels. Not only due to the time limits and the 4-life system introduced in quest mode, but because the puzzle required some serious thought and planning ahead. It is possible to hit select at any time to reset a level if you fluffed things up, but to be met with a give up message on the screen and a loss of an extra life, as opposed to the usual death by a falling block that will make you scream ouch a lot in Megalit. The game definitely feels rewarding, however, not because of the pixely princesses you see between worlds, but because of the sheer amount of mental energy involved in some of those later levels that really does make you feel like you've accomplished something by beating them. which is what a good video game should do in my opinion. And better yet, if you die on, say, round 5, there's a password given every 5 stages to put you right back in the game. Overall, Megalit is really everything you could hope for with a Game Boy puzzle game. While it might not blow the player away graphically, it's got a nice theme song that never gets too in your face, and even greater music in between stages. The complexity of the endgame puzzles will have most casual gamers pulling their hair out, but the multiple ways of solving them in Megalit makes it so much more engaging. I must have died around 10 times on this game's last stage before I beat it, and it was purely by using what I'd learned to dig myself out of the hole I'd made. For me, it's this flexibility to adapt to the needs of the puzzle, coupled with the gradual learning curve and challenge of the endgame that makes Megalit a real winner on the Game Boy. Sure, it makes no sense that you play as a stone with eyes, or why the supposed witch looks surprisingly rugged in her sprite, and it could be argued that the end level fairy rewards are a little bit sketchy, but if you can get past these very fine niggles, you'll find a hidden gem of a puzzle game that's just waiting for you to dive into it. And that brings us to the end of another exciting episode of Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed. First of all, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Xenon3120. He kindly put up a Project SOS video on his channel, which I guess has driven a lot of you lovely people here, so welcome new subscribers, and thank you Xenon. Please check out his channel, there's a link down below, and say that the Game Boy sent you. If you've enjoyed this video and you are a new subscriber, why not check out some more about Boyographic videos, giving you the highs and lows of the Game Boy library one cart at a time. I tend to release these episodes every Friday. You can also check out the Boy Curious videos, which feature some bootlegs and oddities for the system. I promise you folks, next week's will be another Boy Curious video. I know I've been promising it for a while now, but I have a real corker to play through. And if you've enjoyed these videos, why not check out the full game in all the glory, where I cut out all the deaths, leaving you with none of the faff, but all of the glory. Until next time, Game Boys and girls, game on.